Hey everyone, Dane here. Today we are going to be working on a Sony PlayStation. Now, this is one of my favorite systems. I made the jump from the original NES to the PS1 back when it came out when I was in middle school, and that was like the best Christmas ever. You know, my friends got it, and we spent so much time playing that original run of tall box PS1 games. I went and grabbed Doom. That was the first thing I got for my PlayStation. So I'm definitely excited to get into one of these. Now, my buddy Jay over at Retro Game Boards asked me to do an xStation installation for him. This PlayStation is exhibiting, the ancient PS1 issue where it doesn't want to read discs unless you set it on its side. I did check this unit with Gex. It worked, but it has to be set up on its side, and the lasers in these old PS1s are going. Like, you can find replacements for them. But I've even done, replacements in PS1s, put a brand new laser in and it still had it not read right. So yeah, he decided to make the jump over to the xStation, and I'm going to get that installed for him. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so here we have our PS1. We'll take the disc out. Don't want to disassemble it with a disc in there. All right. Yeah, you can see this is a little bit older model. I believe this is actually one of the first run of PS1s. You can tell by the fact that it still has the AV jacks up here in the top. It does also have an AV multi-out. This would actually be the same model that I got when it came out. I remember I got a copy of Time Crisis later, and you would plug the gun con right into this port here. All right, looks like it's just 5 standard Phillips screws. So get a bit out here. Job. All right, let's get this opened up. Changed the angle of my camera a little bit, trying to get it in there a little bit better. But it does mean I have to kind of work around it a little bit more. I'll see if I kind of keep it at the angle that it's at. I was hoping it'd let me get a little bit better shots today. Still learning this as I go, Changed the angle of my camera a little bit, trying to get it in there a little bit better. But it does mean I have to kind of work around it a little bit more. I'll see if I kind of keep it at the angle that it's at. I was hoping it'd let me get a little bit better shots today. Still learning this as I go, So not left-handed. Tell you what, this where a ratchet screwdriver is really handy. Love this thing. All right, so we're going to flip our unit back over and pull the lid. All right, there we go. Interesting. Now, this is a little bit different than the last couple of PS1s that I worked on. Yeah, those must have been... Actually, they were. They're a little bit later models that only had the AV multi-out. Looks pretty straightforward to disassemble, though. It doesn't look that much different. Maybe this copper, what I'm assuming is a copper heatsink here. Have to figure that out. But yeah, I've actually never gotten into one of these units here, so that's kind of interesting. All right, so let's go ahead and remove the optical drive first. Boy, that's actually kind of hard to get a hold of there. Do it without. Try this. Let's see if I can get a little bit better grip on it this way. Let's see if there's... Oh, aha, okay. Oh, good, I didn't just ruin anything there. So this one looks like you have to actually pull from the sides here, and then, yeah, there we go. Okay. Learning as I go. Nasty, got some buzz on it. Set our optical drive aside here. And yeah, actually, I'm going to go hit this with some air duster just to get it cleaned out, and I will be right back. Okay, we are air dusted. Go ahead and start getting this plate out of here. It's pretty big. All right, so we got our optical drive removed. Let's go ahead and remove our power. I can see that board starting to flex in there, so I just put my finger down there to try to help keep it in place a little bit. Looks like we have an RF shield here on the controller port, so I guess we'll start there. I try to get my hand out of the way there. And there's one. And another. Looks like we've got screws down here on the sides too. Huh. And this screwdriver, that bit is not quite long enough, so I'll just use a trusty old magnetic screwdriver here. There we go. That should be good to come out now. All right, there we are. Actually, I'm going to pop screws back in there and just kind of set the thing aside just to help stay organized. All right, making progress here. Not too bad. Okay, so next we're going to remove the controller cable here. You know, I do like to use these pliers sometimes. I find when you're removing stuff like that, you can get a good even grip across the whole thing. All right, and now our controller ports just lift right out. Making progress. All right, so this, I think we're going to have to peel off. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we're going to start removing this shield here. Yeah, I really, really loved the PS1 when it came out. For me, it was just this huge generational leap forward. You know, I went from 8-bit gaming, you know, we're talking Super Mario Brothers 3, and I was playing a lot of sort of end-of-life NES games, too. I got a copy of Kirby when that came out, I think when I was in the 4th grade, and got a copy of Mega Man 6. You know, that came out very late in the NES's life cycle. And so I was playing those when those actually came out. So yeah, by the time the PS1 rolled around, it wasn't like I had never seen a 16-bit game before or anything. You know, I was playing Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis at my friends' houses. But, you know, I didn't have one at home. And so to finally make that leap, it really was something special. You know, I had played the original Doom on the PC way back then. And being able to play that on a console was absolutely mind-blowing. I couldn't believe it. And played a bunch of NHL 95 that year. It came out. My dad and I played a ton of that game. Really liked that one. And what else around that time? I remember like wearing out the PS1 demo disc that came with it. Had like Jumping Flash on there and all kinds of stuff. The X Games, you know, it was an awesome launch. All right, so looks like we've got most of our screws out, but it's kind of wanting to hang on back here in this corner, which obviously is going to with this tape. I'm going to see about starting to lift this away from the the main board. Yep, I'm going to have to take this tape off here. And I'm just doing my best to make sure I don't damage it so I can get that back on there when it's time to put it back together. All right, there we go. So shielding is removed and out of the way. All right, so here we have our main board, and I think that should just lift right out. Let's see here. Oh yeah, looks like these screws are holding that on here at the back. So remove those. I think those are the last two. There. All right. Now I think this ought to come out of there. Go, board is free. And we can set the bottom plate aside. All right, cool. Interesting. All right, so this is a revision that I have not worked with yet. And this would be PU8. So actually I'm going to pull the camera in so we can... There. And you can see that that is a PU8 motherboard revision. So when I'm looking up my installation instructions, I will know which ones to look at. Very cool. All right, well, I'm going to go pull those up now so we know how we can begin our board prep. Okay, so our board prep on this side of the board is going to start out, really, we're going to be focused on two main areas. We're going to be focused right down here. We've got couple components, a resistor and a cap that need to be removed. These very small SMD components right here. I'm talking about. Okay, so we are going to be removing this bit here and this bit here. Should be really easy to do. We're just going to flood it with some solder. Now, the other area we're going to be looking at is this chip right here. This is the CXD 2510Q chip. And we've got some pins. We're going to be lifting a couple pins up here and a couple of pins on this side here. Nothing too major. You know, anytime you're lifting pins, you got to be careful. And these are pretty small. But, you know, we're just going to be patient and go slow and get it done right. But I think I'm actually going to start out removing these components here just because that's pretty easy to do. Trying to get centered up in a way that see. Actually, I'm going to go adjust my camera and I will be right back. Okay, so we have our fume extractor running. We've got our soldering iron up to temperature. And we are ready to remove these two components. So we are just going to add a little bit of flux there. All right, let's get these components removed. You can see it's really not all that hard to do. Grab that component. So here is our teeny tiny component right there. I just flooded both sides with solder, and that broke the thing loose. And really, when you do that, it'll kind of stick to the iron, and then you just move the iron back out of there. I'm going to see if I can rotate this a bit just to make it a little easier for me to get to. All right, there we go. It's pretty tight in there. You're going to want to make sure that you don't hit these other very fine SMD components here when you're working. Same method. Flux and a tinned iron. All right, and that is all there is to removing these two components. So there, and we are good to go for this piece of board. All right, so this next area, we are going to be working on lifting some pins on this chip right here. It is pretty fine, so this is definitely an area where you are going to want to take your time. Don't be in a rush. And if something, if you get too much solder on here or something, don't freak out. The main thing is that anything you do is fixable. We're going to try not to have to do any of that. But yeah, so there are two pins to lift on this side, and there are two pins to lift up here. On this side of the board, I'm actually going to start over here just because I'm right-handed and it's easier to get at these pins over here. And the ones that we want to lift are going to be pins 63 and 44. 63 is very easy to find. You can see on the board, it says 64 right here, and that corresponds to the last pin on the chip. So 63 is going to be this pin right here. Down on this side, you can see that it says 41, and we want pin 44, so we're going to count up 41, 42, 3. That is going to be our 44th pin right there, which means that there will be 3 pins below it that we don't touch. So second from the top and fourth from the bottom are the pins that we want to deal with here. And I'll do my best to try to capture this well, but it can be a little tricky getting in there. All right, that seems like a pretty good angle for me to give it a shot. All right, so we're going to start down here on this end. Flux. I'm going to put just a tiny bit of solder on my iron here. Wet that pin. Okay, and we have bridged some pins there. Oh no, it's the end of the world, right? That ain't no big deal. A little more flux, a little more heat, and we'll have that fixed right now. I tend to be pretty liberal with the flux here, doing this. Try not to have to get back in there with the braid. I may have to, but try not to. There we go. There's still just a tiny bridge right there. All right, there we go. No more bridges. Okay, so now the way I'm going to approach this is to try to get my X-Acto knife, which I have found to be the best tool for this job. Try to get that underneath the pin, right here. And I'm going to apply a little bit of heat down at the base. See if we can't lift that pin out of there. It's tight in there. All right, I think we're up. Go. So our pin is up. I'm just going to basically gently push that straight up. It can be a little bit scary doing that, but the main thing is you just go kind of slow. Let's see if I can't get a better angle on that so you can see that that pin is now lifted up. And you can also see that it looks like there's just a tiny bit of solder that it looks like it might be bridging right there. So we're going to hit that again. Like that. There we go. Got that out of there with my finger. Yeah, everything looks good otherwise. I'm going to reflow this pin just to make sure that it's still seated properly on the pad. It'll be pretty easy to knock those out. Looks fine here. Actually, in close, I'm looking at it with my bare eyes. It can be kind of hard to see. But I think that's good. Whatever. Easy to reflow it, right? Go. Reflowed. All right, so 1 of 4 down on this chip. So now we need to hit pin 44. So this pin right here, again, we're leaving 1, 2, 3, and then hitting the 4th one. So we're just going to use the exact same technique to get that one lifted. Oops. I'm really trying to put just the smallest amount of solder on there I can. It's still going to be a lot for these pins, but that was just about right. All right, so again, I'm going to be get under that pin with my X-Acto knife here. We're going to heat the base and just start to lift. Just like that. We're actually lifted there. And hopefully you can see when I'm doing this that I'm applying heat just to the very base of the pad, so I'm not actually touching the upper pin. And that allows me to wedge my X-Acto under there and lift it up. All right, and now I'm going to bend this straight up, taking care not to hit my other pin that I already bent. Once it's up, you can really just use your finger to very gently press it straight back. I actually prefer to use my finger to do that at the end just because I can feel it a little bit better. All right, and you can see that our other pin is bent. All right, that is one side done. And really, this is some of the scariest stuff you can do. And it's not so bad. You just make sure to use a small amount of flux, go slow, or I'm sorry, a lot of flux, small amount of solder, go slow, and be methodical, and you're not going to have anything to worry about. So now we're moving on to this side of the board, and or the chip, excuse me, and we need to hit pins 66 and 69. It is, you can see it's pin 65 right here, so we're going to skip one, then hit pin 66, and it's easy to tell which pin it is because it'll be connected to this via right here. See that pin 66 connects to this via, and then pin 69, we're going to skip 2. Let's see here. Make sure I'm telling you the right thing. So yeah, 66, 67, 68, and then 69 is going to be this pin right here. We're going to skip 2, and it's actually going to have this this via right next to it as well. So that's kind of the easy way to find your way here. The pin that's connected to this via, and the pin that's connected to this via. Really, to make it even easier, you just say on this side, the pin connected to the first via, skip 1, and the pin connected to the third via. If you want to know exactly the pins, again, that is 66 right there, and 69. Let's go ahead and do the same thing. Let's get these pins tinned up and ready to lift. You don't want to do what I did the last time I did one of these. I lifted the wrong pins, then had to put them back down and re-weld them. That'll freak you out a little bit having to do that. Again, just putting like a tiny, tiny amount of solder on there. There we go. No bridges that time. I'm actually going to start with the pin furthest to the right, so I'm not worried about hitting it as I work my way left. So, pin right here, I will be touching just the base. What? There's not quite enough flux and solder there. Starting to lift just a little bit, but actually need a little more juice. There we go. It's being a little stubborn, but just gotta be patient. It twisted a little bit, but not too bad. Again, I'm just gonna use my thumb. Apply just enough pressure, push that up. And really being gentle with it. All right, and darn it. Hopefully I got all that on camera. Too busy looking at what I was doing down here, not looking through the camera. But yeah, you can see that there's a pin right there. No bridges. All right, so now we will hit pin 66. And again, that is the one that is touching the very first via on this side. Same deal, need a little more solder on my iron. Let's hit it with a little more flux too. Yeah, this one's giving me a little trouble. You really don't want to lift too hard until you're sure that the pad is molten. Otherwise, you run the risk of pulling your pin off. There we go. There it is. All right. So I'm going to use my X-Acto just to out of it under there to begin to lift it up. I'm going to push it straight up. And being very gentle. All right, there we go. So you can see that pins all right, there we are. So pins 68 and 69 both been lifted. Are out of circuit. And I believe that that is all the board prep that we need to do on this side of the board here. I'm going to go read through my instructions a little bit more, see if that's actually the case, but these are the first major things we need to do to get this board ready. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the other side of the board, and we're going to flip it over here, and we are going to be looking at this area here. Specifically, we've got 3 resistors right here that we need to remove. Zoom my camera in. And the easiest way to find these, look at your letters down the side of the board here. Find the F, go straight across, and then there's these 3 resistors right here. Those are the ones that we're going to be removing. I'm going to flip it around just to make it a little bit easier for me to get at them. And it's these 3 right here. All right, so little flux. And we're just going to use that flood method to one, two, and there's 3. All right, so you can see that all 3 of these resistors have been removed. And I'm just going to actually reflow those pads real quick just to make sure that I didn't bridge anything that I wasn't supposed to or anything like that. Flux, and just a quick cleanup pass. Moving on. All right, everyone, our board is fully prepped. We are ready for the next steps to get in there and start installing our QSBs and ribbon cables and our xStation board, and eventually our laser bear, SD card mount, and all that stuff. It's going to be really cool. But yeah, I hope I showed tonight that preparing your PU8 PS1 motherboard, not all that hard. I think we removed, 5 resistors and lifted 4 pins. Lifting pins can be a little scary. That can definitely be a little intimidating. But I hope I showed it's like go slow, use a lot of flux, a little bit of solder, have some patience, and definitely use an X-Acto knife. I don't suggest trying to get in there with the fine tweezers, even, really fine ones like these. They're great for, all kinds of stuff, but I haven't had much luck using them for lifting pins. So X-Acto knife is the way to go there. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I had a lot of fun getting this ready. If you enjoyed your time, I would appreciate, a like and a subscribe. Please hit the bell, so you see my new videos when they come out. I did finally set up a Buy Me a Coffee, and I've even got a Patreon going. So, if you find these videos valuable and you'd like to contribute to the channel, it would mean a lot to me. It just helps me keep making these videos. So, thanks for hanging, and we'll catch you next time when we get our xStation installed. Bye now.